Hello, World Selection community. This is your host danielb32, and today I have a ranked match with Suokan. Suokan. I think that's Suokan. Anyway, this match I tried a different way how to use Europe, and in particular the Iron Age, how to utilize Iron Age in a unique way, which is not that unique, but you don't see it, so it's definitely unique if you don't see it. So let's start with the environment and then we'll get to the gameplay eventually. So what do I have? I started with a decent patch, not big one, but it won't last forever. At my west north, I have another small patch, not a big one. My south, I have a more decent one that should last me quite a while. And even more to the south, I have this one. So woodline should be decent, at least for the beginning. No problem there. Let's see, what about food? I got a lot of deer, but that's not helpful for the majority of the time. I got cows in my south. Boar, mammoth, and cows. So also food should be pretty accessible. And let's go to my opponent. So my opponent, let's start that. Alright. Okay, so my opponent, he has again similar patch of food line. He's closer to the sea or lake. I think that's more better to be pronounced as lake. He has a fish, free fish. What else? Woodline. It's closer to his base, but it's still the same patch, so small one. Then if he goes to the south, he has a big one. It's in the direction of my base, so it's also dangerous for him. But I'm in the same position, so it's pretty fair. Food. Besides the fish, obviously there. He got boars. Love boars. That should be enough to cover his food if he needs any. Okay, I think we can move forward to the main course of the game. So what he does in the meanwhile, he is planning on going to the next age ASAP. Is not taking any iron chances. Okay, no pets as defense. I don't recommend that, but it is what it is. Alright, is essentially putting all of his eco on making his workers immediately, wherever he has, into the next age. No problem at that, no problem at all, as long as he can support it. Essentially, now his spearmen don't have any upgrades. So essentially they are just basic spearmen, so they don't have any particular stats that make them unique, and it doesn't have any upgrades for them. So it's easy to defeat them if I want to. And I'm sending a small group of warriors to harass his eco, the damage, and yeah, that's my plan. Eco wise, I'm also Europe, but I can provide myself with the economy because I got the food from the animals. And yeah, I'm doing the upgrades, preparing my units, preparing my barracks. And in a second now I'll go there. Going to do the upgrades. My wood line's a bit low, that's fine. Alright, he has at this stage 39 workers. Not a lot, but he's making. Let's see how this small fight will provide me in terms of taking down his eco. I definitely see a lot of workers are dying. If you look at this, yeah, a lot of workers are dying. And more here, and I think that's about it. Okay, let's slow it a bit. So from 39 to 31, that's a good trade. That's a very good trade. And I'm making another round in the meanwhile, and he has to recoup them, delays his eco to some extent. Yeah, and I have how many workers? this stage 52, and I'm making more. My eco is rising, doing the upgrades while he doesn't do any upgrades. So he's gonna be in a pickle eventually. Hasn't started the extra beds yet, so I'm definitely in a better spot. But he has an army, not a very strong one, but still an army, so he can defend himself. And my bigger group, 4 warriors, are coming in. We're talking about 30 warriors, doubled in the previous one. And he has, at this stage, 36 workers, a bit less than what he had previously, but he recouped most of them, doing the vision upgrade, why not? And I got to him, I got to his workers. Yeah. I'm moving my warriors around, split them, taking workers wherever I can. Yeah, seems to be doing just fine. Yeah. Trying to do as much damage as I can. Most of my warriors are down. I want to take down his farm because that will take down his wood eco even more, considering. And no, he managed to fix it in time. But repairs it requires wood, so also making his economy even harder. He has 30 workers. That's better. That's better. I reduced it by about 7, 8 roughly. Remember, it's producing at the same time, so I guess it's closer to 10. Alright, in the meanwhile, I'm going to Iron Age. I finished my attack. I think I had enough. And I did all the upgrades, so now my spearmen fully upgraded. And I'm just making some amount to defend, maybe to send an offense, I don't know. He has a good amount, so my spearmen will not be able to like finish him or anything like that, so that doesn't make sense to send them. So here's my plan. So this is the thing that makes a difference. I'm going to the Iron Age, so in the meantime I'm just gonna prepare stables to make cavalry, because in the Iron Age you can get in a second, yes, there you go. You can get horseshoe, which increases their movement speed by a lot, making them essentially unstoppable. You can't catch them, and they deal good damage. Particularly workers are at this age don't have a lot of armor, so a few hits and they're down. And when you get 10 or so horsemen, that's not an issue. So yeah. Alright, so let's move it a bit. My eco it's a bit hurting because I'm also going to the next age. Luckily they don't require a lot of wood, so that makes things way easier compared if you want to make heavy spearmen. Heavy spearmen requires a lot of wood, which I don't have at the moment. I have, but I don't want to waste. So horsemen, with the upgrades they got 100 speed, 7 damage, 0.8 attack speed, and decent armor. Should be twice of normal spearmen. When the spearmen have the upgrades, of course. He needs to get spearmen upgrades, and he doesn't have any. Anyway, this is the normal speed of the replay, and you see how fast they are. That's very fast. Now let's go back to his perspective. He had 40 workers, I guess. That's fine. And you see, pretty fast to take down workers. If you group them around workers, they do it pretty fast. And the armies can't chase them. They can. The archers can, but because of their high HP and decent armor, they will probably last quite a while. And when they do catch workers and they find them, you do a lot of damage to his eco. And that's it. I essentially pushed these workers into turrets, delayed his eco, took as many as they could. And around 40 reduced to 30 and a bit. So that's a successful raid, very successful. Alright, in the meantime I'm in the medieval, and I'm going to continue producing. Let me show you my economy. My wood economy is good, and I'm going to continue producing them in the meantime, because they are better than the early Middle Ages cavalry, and you don't have to upgrade them as of yet. You do need to upgrade them eventually if you want to go to the next stage, but that's way easier to handle because in the late Middle Ages you get better units, the cursor. But that's when you get there. Another tip which I noticed, it's way better to keep your Europe workers at the Europe age and at the Iron Age, and just, you know, upgrade the mill but not workers, because then you can provide higher production rate. So let me show an example. So this is a Western Europe, right? He has 1.4 and this one has 1.5. So that's a nice difference, and you don't need to spend the 90 food on each worker. So that's always a good. He sent his army in. I ignored his army completely, and just came to his base to take down his workers. Because what matters is the economy. He is not even in medieval. He can't go to medieval because he doesn't have workers. And his status is just not becoming better. Sure, my cavalry can go down easy because, you know, cavalry are just fast units, but they don't have a lot of HP. I mean, they have enough HP to survive a while, but when they're grouped, they will die easily. So when you finish the job, you just escape and you're fine. So he has now 30 workers. Again, I constantly put him in with the pressure, force him into producing workers. Every time he gets some amount of workers, I send in my cavalry, and that's bring him down to the default number. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm doing. Put him in the pressure, and I'm just preparing, making forts, doing upgrades in my barracks forge. In the forge there is an upgrade for spearmen, and that upgrade goes into horsemen, so they get from 7 to 8 damage, which is substantial, very substantial. I mean, that is very good, considering my opponent is not even in the medieval ages, so his workers are even more vulnerable. And now look at this, taking down these buildings very fast. Yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. When you have enough horsemen and your opponent is in the Iron Age, you can deal with his economy easily. Obviously, when he gets to the medieval, you will be able to take down buildings with horsemen, but you can still do harm to his eco. And as you can see, I'm just causing him to stop working constantly. He can't put his workers here to gather wood, because then I'll be in a better position to take down his workers. And yeah, essentially this is the kind of gameplay that I actually enjoyed a lot, because when you get to the late Middle Ages, you can get cursor, and they have the same speed, 100, and they do way more damage buildings and workers alike, so they have their own advantages that horseman has. The reason I'm not using early Middle Ages cavalry, because they're just bad at doing this, just not good at all. If I send right now, if I send chariots, maybe I can take down the TC, maybe, but what's the point? I can just take down his eco and go the safe way. I mean, you can just repair his TC. So yeah, he's trying to send in his troops. My goal when I send my horsemen to the north to find workers if he has any, but he doesn't have. Yeah, a better choice from him to send them in, because that means I know he is in front of my base and he has to cross all this distance to get back to his base. And he won't do anything to me because I have guardian towers, I can upgrade my towers. And in the meanwhile, he just 15 horsemen going to his base. And he has, let's see, his workers. 47. He definitely recouped his worker count, which is definitely good for him. Problem is, will that save his workers? I am I'm dead, and look, he died. He just dies. Bad choice from him. He shouldn't have engaged on me. And now a lot of workers are dying here. He has workers there, so I send my horsemen to work. That's a bad choice on attacking legionaries, they're just tanky. And way better to just focus tower and get workers. 10 workers here, easy to the picking. And yeah, that's the end of the game. So when I finish that trade, all of my cavalry are dead, but 20 and a bit workers. As idle fisherman, he's engaged on my base, failed, and I'm starting to produce shooting ranges, right? So eventually I'll have to stop using this strategy because obviously I'm putting pressure on him, but I also want to end the game. So after a while I'll start producing them and go into onagers, spearmen and archers, and just force it into his base, take a trade and win the game, because this will not stop me at this stage. So I'm being patient, doing it slowly by steps, and because of the high defense strength of West Europe, he can't attack me. And obviously the horsemen of Europe, when you get your speed, they're very valuable. And that's the strategy I'm planning on using for a lot of games. And if it works like this one against Asia, then I'll be in a way better spot, because it's way easier to take down Asia workers. So I think that'll be enough for the video. So I'll wrap up this game. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll definitely find more footage and then I'll upload. Depends on my luck in the solo queue. In the ranked, you never know what you're gonna find in this game mode. Alright, have a good one. If you like this, subscribe, like, sharing, and you know, all the good stuff. Yeah, see ya.